Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. Not surprised.
Hello, Madam Mayor,
Hello.
Alderman.
3 minutes.
My questions may be dated because of the fact that we just got some new information here, but some of them will apply. So let me try to take the easy ones first. First off, how much time?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, gotcha. The alderman stipends, where do they show up?
The alderman stipends
Yeah, they'll show up in the budget where?
in 3 different places, right, Phyllis? Do we put them in there or just in the general? Just general, but general fund.
General fund.
Yes.
Thank you. Under labor, I'm guessing salary and wages? Are they a separate line item?
No, they're just in the salary and wages.
Gotcha.
They're not stipends, they're salary.
Yeah, that's enough if we know that that's where they're at. I didn't see a line item for them. I couldn't find in the old budget, maybe it's in the new one, I couldn't find in the old budget a balance information for water and sewer. Is there some place where that exists? Water and sewer only, like all the other funds have their own. Water and sewer, do they have their own? Water and sewer in the old budget was page 11.
It is page 11.
Pardon me, it's still page 11?
Yes.
Okay, on there, I couldn't see where there was a summary of that which related only to water and sewer. Is there some place where that exists?
Can I address this question?
Yes. I'm not sure I understand totally what he's talking about.
Page 11 is solely the budget for water and sewer.
Very good.
And gas is behind it.
And the what?
The gas fund is separately also.
Agreed. But like if you take page 5, you'll see that at the bottom it has fund balances and so on. It tells you the activity related to that department only. Yet I didn't see that summarization for water and sewer in 11.
See page 11 at the bottom.
At the bottom is $15 million. That won't be water and sewer.
No, that is the fund balance. It does not project, it does not show the full assets, which is plant and service and cars and trucks and such. This is just dealing with the beginning fund balance, equity, plus or minus the net income is the ending fund balance.
Oh, so that $15 million is really,
It's not necessarily cash.
I would hope we have assets in there.
Well, there's a great deal of assets, less depreciation, there's liabilities, notes, bonds. So this is simply the difference between what you own and what you owe is equity.
Okay, I'm out of time, so I'm going to do 3 quick typos. And if that's important to you guys, change it. If not, everybody knows what it means. On page 1, you have a T hanger rental down near the bottom. Hanger, H-A-N-G-E-R. I'm sure that it's A-R since it's talking about aviation. Is that correct? Okay.
I guess it is.
You don't see it? Well, now this is the old one,
That's the
so.
right spelling.
Pardon me?
AR is the right spelling.
A-R, so you got E-R, you
Okay.
want to change that.
Okay.
All right, and then the second one is, on page 2, you have reappraisal cost to Overton County. I would guess that's reappraisal.
Okay. We'll
Okay,
fix that.
and then on page 5, this is 3 times it talks about gas. Since we have a natural gas department, is that gas, or is that gasoline? A suggestion that somebody take a look at that and decide which one it really is.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll
I'm
do
out.
it. Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Okay. At this time, we will call this meeting to order. Ms. Phyllis, will you do a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Dale. Alderman Elder.
Here.
Alderman Langford.
Here.
Alderman Linder.
Here.
Alderman Proctor.
Here.
Alderman Rubel.
Here.
All present except Vice Mayor Dale.
Okay. Next on the agenda are the budget amendments, and I know you guys just received the amendments. You had the budget before, and there were a few, the column with the amendments were on there. I don't know if y'all had any time to already look at those at all about the questions that you had last time, but, okay.
Just tell us the changes.
The changes are primarily, the projected 23-24 projected numbers are substantially stronger than they were the last time we met. That is just about carved in stone, not quite yet. But the secondary numbers are, we've got amended budget. We'll go over that in just a little bit. Are we talking about the amended budget or the, okay. The big change is the very first top number on the upper right on page 1. You now see 1.904. That was 1.825, I believe, for property tax, assuming that you will approve the recommended nickel increase in your tax rate. There are a few notable changes on page 4. The airport aviation fuel, we incorrectly had 110,000. That has been reduced by 60,000 to be more in line with what the projected revenue is. So we removed $60,000 off that. As your income increases, ideally, you're going to have a lot more fuel sales. That number will naturally go up, and then we'll amend it next year.
Going back, 23-24 projected, that's a year ago. Why do we still have a projected?
Solely because the software complicated matters beyond what you would really expect. There's the 23 audit was finally accepted in May. We couldn't finalize 24 until we finalized 23. 24 is, the preliminary numbers are with the auditor. The final numbers should be with the auditor in the next day or so.
Okay, so what about 23-24? Is that what you're saying and be final in the next 2 or 3 days?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so 24-25, we're looking for the final to be a year from now?
Oh, no. No, this one's going to be substantially closer. We've learned how to work with the bugs in the software. I don't know if there's so much bugs as it is just getting corrections made, understanding where things should be, learning that process better. So I fully expect that the 25 will be given to the auditors in very early October. That is the goal, and that is the intent to get that done. We together have learned so much about the software, and where we can expect the corrections to be made by local government within the next coming months and get that fixed.
Was the old software,
The old software had its own set of problems. That would allow, any accountant understands, and most people understand, that you have a two-entry accounting method. You always have a debit with a credit. With the software that we had before, you could make a one-sided entry, and that's just very incredible. And
That's
every
not too
year
good.
in September, it would fail to show one report or one payroll run for some reason. In September, you would have to naturally add one more payroll by looking at the printout. It would print it, but it wouldn't post it to the software. And then there were other items, so. Let's see. So we were talking about the amendments. I know we're talking about the budget right now. Trying to think of any more significant changes. None really come to mind. But with if you look at the bottom of page 4, bottom right corner, the last number on the last column, look 2 numbers up from that, you'll see a 56,365. That was a negative 84,000, I believe. By adding additional income for property tax and reducing the projected expense on aviation fuel, you went from a negative 84, I think it was, to 56. If all the numbers came out exactly like they are, then the city will prosper by about 56,000.
Excuse me, on the 40,000 negative, on the amended budget, second column for this year, what was that? On page 4. This next to the 56,000.
Oh, okay. That 40,000 is the amended budget. If everything, let me back up. The original budget, you'll see 254,000, right there in the middle of the middle column. The 40,000 doesn't mean that you're actually going to lose 40,000. What you're doing is there are things in accounts payable that we don't have right now. We know about what your projected expenses will be as far as the last fuel bill, the last uniforms bill. That will come in July. We're projecting those numbers and these numbers because it's an expense of June. You just haven't got the bills yet for a lot of those expenses. So what it is, I've gone through each item. If you look on the page 1 of your proposed budget amendments, we got increase and decreases on just about every line. So that just tells you where we had original projection, just to pick out one. Grants income, the second set of numbers down on page 1, 415,000. You never know exactly how many grants you're going to get because you file for grants during the year. We projected 415. You actually got about 603. So we had to increase the budget by 188,000. So all the expenses, your projected numbers, if it had been close to budget, then there would be very few adjustments in there, very few amendments. But going back to the first page, or page 4, on the budget, that's simply allowing for unknowns. So it's not going to come anywhere near 98, but just to make sure that the town was in compliance with state statute, in that all expenses were appropriated, there's just a safe buffer for each category. Each major category is what you're basically audited on. So the major category has to be in a positive appropriation. So just to be safe, and because your fund balance is so strong, I've left a lot of buffers in those just in case. But no, it's not going to be, because I probably left roughly 120,000 just to be sure that we cover everything. And you'll find that on each fund. Another significant change is just a classification. If you look on airports, which is on page 4, if you look under airport, on the original copy, miscellaneous had the projected number was miscellaneous was around 204,000, I believe it was. Well, I haven't had time to go through and see what some of those expenses were. We've pulled out equipment. I take that back. I'm thinking about the projected 23-24. The last time we met on that one, that projected line was about 100 or 205,000. Got into it, looked at what it was, and that was a purchase of the land. So part of the audit and getting it ready for the auditors to try to get the miscellaneous as low as possible so it's best informed the public. So land and site development were included in the miscellaneous, and now it's pulled out. So it's more information. And while you're there looking at equipment, in the projected column for airport, that's tri-green equipment, a one-time purchase. And I believe there were some grants for that offset that expense, at least in part. I believe another change is on page 1, right about in the middle where it says ARPA funds. That's a grant that you've got. Originally, that projected number was not 300,000, it was just blank. But I believe that you've got equipment that's going to be deemed appropriate for the expenditures of those funds. Those funds had already been received at the end of 22, and then they were not spent. So it's been carried on the balance sheet as a deferred grant. So as you spend the grant, you recognize the income that's been on the balance sheet. So that's $300,000. I feel pretty solid that there's going to be at least that many expenditures to warrant recognizing $300,000 in revenue.
page 5, the street aid.
Okay.
What drove that up from the proposal 62,000 to 101,000? Or the amended or?
On the amended, I'm sorry, I'm not following your question.
Well, the one that we got last week, down there at the fund, balance ending,
Oh, okay.
the proposal 62,770. Now it went up to 101,605.
I don't have the original that you had last week.
Well, I can answer it. Never mind.
Okay.
There's some, well, no.
What is your negative number?
Well, material and supplies wasn't on last week's, and it was added on a handout tonight for $25,000
Oh, okay.
for materials and supplies. So that's the difference right there.
Hmm.
Yep. Okay.
On page 6, on the projected, that was different on your original copy last meeting and only got cleared up today. I believe it was showing 463,000 in grants and only about 2,000 in or not 2,000, 200 and some odd thousand in building improvements, but reclassifications were made and effort was looked to see why it was not fully expended, but that came to light. So that is a fund that's closed at the end of 2024. General debt service did not change at all, I think. It may have shown 450,000 in proposed 25-26 sales tax, but that was low. So we increased that to 475, which we ideally think is just still a bit low, but we're a little conservative on revenue. On water and sewer, the projected column had a water relief fee.
Can we back up to page 9, please?
Okay.
Well, never mind, because the proposal's the same. Amended, I was gonna ask about the amended budget for 24, 25. Never mind, because your proposed is the same. Never mind.
Okay. On page 10, we had some unadjusted numbers that now have been determined. We have water relief fees of a small amount. And then we had water relief fee expense of quite a bit. Because you collect those water relief fees, that's been reclassified to revenue, and the expenses that were in the projected column are netted against the revenue. So increased revenue, decreased revenue, because water relief fee is not a true revenue to the town, nor is it a true expense. It's just you're an agent for the ones that you're collecting it for. So you bring it in and put it right back out. So it's not true expense or true revenue. It's just netted within water. One issue that we're having with the software is if you look on your amended pack on page 10, you'll see that we had 50,000 in interest and penalties on the original budget. On the 2023 budget, we had probably in the neighborhood of 30,000 in penalties and interest. This software has not yet allowed us to track those numbers. It's just all within water. So ideally, we can get some help with a supplier to pull out those revenues so that we can again track that like we're used to. So I've just amended the budget to match what you're projecting, since we can't identify all those, what the true penalties and interest is.
What's on page 10, the master meter Fairview, 24-25 is 256,000. And then on the one we got today, it's only 16,000.
I looked at that specifically today because it's unusual to find a large expense in that category. So what I found was that there was a $200,000 piece of equipment. So I capitalized it and put it on the balance sheet instead of running it through expense. But the part with the water and sewer and the natural gas funds, those are proprietary funds as opposed to governmental funds. So they're run like a business. So you capitalize major equipment, all the planting service, all your piping and such is on the balance sheet. So it's not an expense. So the way you account for the expense is through depreciation over the years. So that particular equipment's going to increase your depreciation a fair amount. But it's also going to be probably a 50-year asset. So it's not going to hit the bottom line just a lot, but
So you'll get depreciation over X number of years.
correct. That's also true of gas, where you had a couple of, in 2024, fiscal year 2024, you had the purchase of 2 gas trucks, bucket trucks, and those are not in the expense. They're on the balance sheet. So while we're talking about that, if you look on the page 10, let's go with the budget line item. The very last item on the page on column number 2, 210,169. If it's true maintenance and repair, then it goes through the P&L. If it's a purchase of a fixed asset, or if you're restoring an asset such as a bulldozer and it substantially increases its life, then we capitalize that, put it on the balance sheet. So we're projecting all that equipment because you have so much equipment at the water plant. It's highly likely that you're going to have 210,000. Ideally, you won't have that much. You can see in projected 2023-24, it's only 95,000 only.
Joel, if there's not anything else significant, I may go ahead and open it back up for public comments and then entertain a motion.
Okay.
Are there any other public comments? Since you're solo out there. Okay. Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion to pass the fiscal year 25-26 budget as amended.
I make a motion that we accept the budget.
Okay, a motion made by Alderman Proctor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Alderman Bruce Elder. Is there more discussion? Okay, at this time, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Proctor,
Yes.
Alderman Rubel,
Yes.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Linder.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, motion passes. Now I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Pardon? Oh,
Amended budget must be approved also.
okay, okay. And then I need a motion to pass the amended budget. Okay, motion made by Alderman Linder. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Langford. Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Alderman Rubel,
Yes.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
Alderman Proctor.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, any other discussion?
Adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. And a second. All in favor? All opposed? This meeting is adjourned.